Stanno bene?
No, no, ci sono no.
Okay. We've got about 10 minutes. Later in the program, Caesar Brolo will sign on, and we are also expecting Kelsey Poor and Michael Carroll, space artist Michael Carroll will be on. That'll be cool. So Steve, so far we have, I think, in excess of 10,000 video views. So.
Don't you hate it when it's a slow day?
Yeah.
Ci vedo nothing. Capito?
Okay.
Sì.
Está atravesada la cara. ¿Le gusta esa pieza? Sí, más fresquita. Este más grandecita. Está bien para que la dedique. Se van a pelear con eso. No, es un futuro. Está con juicio.
Hey Scott, looks like I'm going to have to start another Zoom session on the observatory computer to connect to your telescope because I can't run but one Zoom session on my computer.
Okay. After we do this show, we'll figure it all out and get you hooked up. Okay. We are all shared. Steve Davies says, link us up on YouTube, Scott. We are linked up on YouTube. You go to the Explore Scientific official channel and you'll see us there. If you go to Explore Scientific, here, I'll take you to a link, explorescientific.com/live. You'll see the live stream there on our own page. And if you want to go to YouTube, there's a YouTube link that goes directly to our channel. So Marcello, are you teaching classes today?
No, no, no. We already finished with the class here.
Oh, oh, that's good. That's good.
Today we are waiting to look at the conjunction.
Hmm.
For me now, it is 8 to 5, and for us it will be only possible to see near 7 p.m.
Yeah. So, David, have you ever done so many star parties in one day before?
This is a record for me.
It's a record for me too.
It's kind of neat going around the world like this, so I really loving this.
Yeah, it is. It is. If we could only stay awake for it, you know?
Hey, Scott.
Yeah.
Since this is technically being recorded and timestamped, do you think we can apply for a world record?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I think it might be a record, actually. You know, maybe not, because 100 hours of astronomy happened, and that was Mike Simmons did that. And it was 100 hours of constant nonstop star parties going around the world. That was the IYA 2009, one of the cornerstone events. And they think something like 1 million people participated in that.
I think it's time to challenge that record.
Yeah, we're creeping up on it. I'm enlisting Mike in our program, so you know.
Yeah, we should go for 200 hours.
200 hours. Yeah, it'll be a telethon, internet-a-thon. But not every platform lets you broadcast constantly. So you have to stop broadcasting and then come back on, you know,
Yeah.
and Facebook's one of them. Twitch will let you broadcast, from what I understand, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, constantly. I think TikTok lets you do that too, although we're not on TikTok. Do you drink coffee, David? You're drinking some right now. Yeah. And so are you, Steve. I'm down to the last couple of sips of my coffee right now. Actually, the last couple of drops.
I think it's a requirement as a Canadian.
Is it?
It is, yeah. I think they passed a law that you have to drink coffee all the time. So I have a nice big mug of coffee that I got this morning after our second one.
Yeah.
And there's still quite a bit left in it. I'm sipping it as slowly as I can.
Scott, when the Canadian Armed Forces go somewhere and they set up a base,
Yeah.
they build a Tim Hortons within the base.
Really?
Tim Hortons coffee. Yep.
Aaron Thompson says, coffee sure as hell is a requirement here in the morning, particularly for my wife. Yeah, some people don't even want to be talked to unless they've had their first cup of coffee, right? Mr. Grace is going to try to join us. He says his car's packed and he's got to run. Fingers crossed for Hole in the Clouds. people around the world are trying to see the conjunction. It's cool.
Yeah.
Well, hello everybody. This is Scott Roberts from Explore Scientific, and if you haven't been watching us all day today, and I don't know why you wouldn't, but we've been broadcasting around the world with astronomers who've been watching and talking about the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. We started. David Levy and Steve Molly and I started very early in the morning to get ready for a 3 a.m. broadcast out of here because we had Christopher Go on from the Philippines. And so actually, he had us on just a little bit early. I think maybe he wanted to make sure that we were going to be on with him. I don't know. But we got to watch the sunset from Cebu, the Philippines. It was beautiful, and then we watched Christopher set up his telescope and get it focused and dialed in so that we could witness a really true spectacle, of Jupiter and Saturn in the same eyepiece or same camera field of view. What did Steve and David, what did you think of Christopher's imaging?
David, I'll let you go first.
Okay, thanks, Steve. It was fantastic. I don't know how he does it. He just throws his telescope together in about 3 seconds and takes these pictures that show the red spot and life forms in the atmosphere of Jupiter and all kinds of things. And then Saturn with gorgeous rings. And I think this is just so beautiful the way he does it. It's magical, like this event. However, as Steve has said several times and Scotty has said several times, this is a visual event. You got to go out and look at it. It is.
Yeah, if you can. If you can't, then of course, watch it through one of these streams. But this is, today's the closest, right? But it's still going to be very close in the days coming up. So you're going to want to try to watch it every evening that you can as it slowly starts to separate wider and wider. Just watching that difference in separation, you really get the feeling of that you're actually in a solar system, watching the planets go, moving across the sky. And so I think that is, to me, that effect is something that it almost makes me dizzy thinking about it, because I know, we know how fast we're going around the sun. We know how fast the Earth spins on axis. We roughly know how fast we're moving through the Milky Way, and we have an idea of how fast the Milky Way is moving through intergalactic space. And so we are flying at unbelievable speeds on this pale blue dot that we call Earth. So, let me introduce.
I'm sorry, Scott. I wanted to just say one thing. I thought it was interesting. Think about it. The days were getting shorter as the planets were coming together, and then as soon as they start to move apart, the days are getting longer now.
Right. It was like signaling the solstice, right?
Yeah, right.
It's like, ta-da, the solstice is here, guys. And if you looked at the Google Doodle, it shows Jupiter and Saturn like doing a high five, which was really cool. And so, the whole world is celebrating this. And thanks to the guys at Google for putting together that little animation, because that kind of exposed millions of people to this that might not have known. In fact, I received phone calls. I was trying to get a nap, and I got phone calls from people saying, I didn't know this was happening today. I didn't know, tell me more about it. And so, I'm always happy.
I'd like to add to what David was saying about Christopher Go just throwing his scope up together.
Yeah.
Quickly. He's Christopher Go is a celebrated planetary imager, and he definitely knows what he's doing. I bet you, David, what do you think? Do you think he could probably do it blindfolded with one arm behind his back?
Actually, I don't care. I mean, the thing is, he sets it up fast,
Yeah.
efficiently, and he gets the best pictures, or just about the best pictures I've ever seen.
Yeah.
There's someone at the Warren Astronomical Society that also does a magnificent job. Excuse me. He does a magnificent job when his name is Adrian, and when he makes the camera dance. It's literally dancing when he holds the camera. It's just wonderful.
Yeah. Well, so let's go ahead and get started. Steve Molly is here. He is representing the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada. The RASC is a very old organization. I think it's over 100 years old, and we're really honored that they are co-hosting this event. They pulled together a very interesting group of people that will be on. Including David Levy is a past. I think he's an honorary president or honorary lifetime member of the RASC. I think he was also past president. Jack Newton, who will be on later this evening, was also past president of RASC. They do incredible outreach. They do incredible education within their own organization. It was nice to be allowed to give a formal presentation to them, which I did earlier this year, very, very early this year before COVID really took hold. And it was just, I'm honored that they're participating in this way for the Global Star Party. It's cool. Steve, I've had you repeat this a couple of times during the day, but there's new people watching. Tell us some things about the RASC and why you should join.
Yeah, so thank you, Scott. The RASC, the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada, is an organization that's been around for 152 years. It's steeped in some great history. It does, Scott, you mentioned about education and outreach, and that's something I wanted to bring up today. This time around, the RASC has some amazing education outreach programs that it's set up both for its own members and also for teachers in the classroom. So they'll help you with a lesson plan, professional development, science fair project ideas, and just overall curriculum. So if you're a teacher out there and you're looking for information for an astronomy portion of your class, check out the RASC website, and there's some great information there. But not only is outreach is just a thing that's normal when it comes to astronomy. I don't really think there's too many people out there that would disagree with me on that. Everyone's always excited and welcoming to let someone look through their telescope and explain what they're seeing. You could probably get some pretty emotional reactions out of people the first time that they'll see the rings of Saturn or the Galilean moons of Jupiter, or even just the moon up close. But what the society does, they also have their observing programs. And this is one thing I like about the society. It has a lot of inreach. I like to call it inreach for its members. And one of the things that it does is its observing programs is to help you learn the night sky. And the basic course, if you will, or the basic program called Explore the Universe. And this takes you through the night sky, and you have to find certain constellations and identify and log them, double stars, planets, nebula, phases of the moon, and so on. And a lot of it can be done unaided with the naked eye or with a pair of binoculars. Actually, everything can be done with the most pair of binoculars. You don't even need a telescope. what's even really cool about it is that you don't even have to be a member of the RASC to get their certificate, right? The other certificates that they offer, you do need to be a member. So, explore the moon, learning different features of the moon, being able to identify certain regions and craters. Then it gets into more advanced stuff, the Messier catalog, find us NGC objects, double stars, and then there's even like an astrophotography certificate as well. So there's a lot of diversity in what the RASC offers to its members for outreach and also inreach. And it's one of the things that I really enjoy about the RASC is that there's something there for everyone. Not everyone is a deep sky person for astrophotography. They like to look through a daub and find an object and be immersed in the beauty of that object. And an organization like the RASC has the programs to help you do that. So that's a little more about the RASC. We'll learn more about it later on when we have members on, and we're also going to have the current president of the RASC joining us, and he'll be explaining a little bit more and also some of the features of the Observer's Handbook that we've talked about earlier today.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've been doing the introductions for David Levy. This time I'm going to let you do it, Steve. So.
Okay, no pressure, right?
No pressure, but I know that you have really enjoyed interacting with David.
Yes, it has been a pleasure of mine all day to be able to have a conversation with David. I'd like to introduce David Levy to the program. David is a honorary president of the Montreal Center for the RASC and also the Kingston Center for the RASC. Famously known for finding comets and co-discovery of the Shoemaker-Levy 9 comet that slammed its way into Jupiter. I still have that newspaper, and I'll probably always hold it. And one day, David, when I get to meet you, I'm going to have a Sharpie pen so you can sign it for me. Ladies and gentlemen, David Levy.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Steve, and thanks, Scotty. This is a real pleasure to be here today. It is December 21st. The day is here. I think the last time that the planets of Jupiter and Saturn got this close together was in the year 1623, the year Shakespeare's first folio came out, but nobody could see them because it was a daylight event. This one is in the evening. We don't even have to get up early in the day unless you're Steve and me and Scotty having to get up or stay up for a whole night as we're managing to do.
Yes.
But really, it's a pleasant evening after dinner and before post-dinner drinks. You just go out and you look up at the sky and you see this magnificent sight of Jupiter and Saturn so close together. And you call your neighborhood scientist and you say, "Isn't this wonderful?" And she or he will say, "No, it has absolutely no scientific merit at all." And she'll hang up the phone and bang on the phone and kick the door down. She's right. The great conjunctions, which take place every 20 years, have absolutely no astronomical scientific value. But boy, are they great to see. And of the 5 or 6 billion people around the planet who are around, I would say there may be 1 or 2 that would say, "Oh, I don't want to look at those." But all the rest of us would love a clear night, as we certainly have here in Vail today, to go outside and take a look at Jupiter and Saturn quite so close. It is not an astronomical event, so to speak. It is an astrological event. And before everyone starts yelling and screaming and throwing things, let me make my point. I'm circling for a landing here, and I do have a point. When we talk about the astrologers who write the columns for the daily newspapers, that's not what I'm talking about. We're not interested in them. We're interested in the astrologers who are here 1,000 or 2,000 years ago, before there were telescopes, long before there were telescopes, long before there was really a scientific basis to the night sky. when you studied the motions of the planets and you took accurate observations of where the planets were all the time. So you could predict conjunctions of Jupiter and Venus, the great conjunctions, as they're called, of Jupiter and Saturn every 20 years. And I remember one in particular in 1960, September the 1st, my first nighttime observing session with a telescope was during that great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. I'll never forget it. I see it now. It was yesterday, and it was absolutely wonderful. Got a little story I'd like to share with you. This is a telescope.
What is that?
It's a telescope.
Wow.
You ever seen one?
Wow. Really
This
cool.
this is a telescope. In case any of you don't know, I'd like to tell you the story of how I got this old refractor. Wendy and I were on a tour of the east coast of Africa, and we stopped at one of the ports, and there was a nice little place where you could buy stuff, and they had tables set up with all kinds of merchandise. We got off the ship, and I went to the place, and I looked around, and they had a few telescopes there. And I thought, this one looks like a nice little telescope. And I sort of looked around it a little bit and looked at the draw tubes, opened up the last one, and let's see if I can find it here. Well, it's certainly, junky old telescope taken from somebody's attic. And where is this? Come on. Yeah, Wendy, I think I'm going to need your help to find the inscription here. Anyway, you're all being so patient. Anyway, Wendy's going to find it. It's on this list here somewhere.
Yeah. It does have an inscription.
Excuse me. If I survive this next 5 minutes, and there's not going to be a pile of David, I will be able to finish my little story.
Right here.
Oh, yeah.
There it is.
So I'm looking around, and I see the inscription of the manufacturer, Doland, London. I practically fell down. I practically fell down in a heap. I couldn't believe it, and I took a deep breath, and I didn't know if the salesman knew anything about telescopes, and I said, how much would you sell this telescope for? And he said, oh, it's just something we got out of somebody's attic. Give it to you for a couple $100. And it turns out that all I had was somewhere between $50 and $100. And so I said, would you take, I'm not sure exactly how much it was, but would you take 50 or $60 for it? And he said, yeah, sure. So I gave him the telescope, I gave him the money, and I walked back to the ship. Owen Gingerich was there. The famous Harvard University astronomer was on our cruise. And he greeted me at the gangplank, and he looked at the telescope and he said, you bought a Doland telescope for $50? And I said, yeah. Anyway, the short end of the story here is that last night I used for first light this telescope at last to take a look at Jupiter and Saturn. Whenever I get a new telescope, whether it's new only to me as this Doland is, or if it's new to everybody, the first thing I try to look at is Jupiter. And Scotty, when you sent me that lovely 12-inch reflector, I know we're not supposed to give you advertising. That's one of the best pieces of optics I've ever had the honor of looking through.
Thanks.
But no advertising. Anyway, the first thing I looked at with that was Jupiter, that was also beginning to set in the west. But this time I got to see not just Jupiter, but I got to see Saturn as well in the same field. It was wonderful. It brought me back to Julius Caesar. Shakespeare and Julius Caesar, while Calpurnia says, when beggars die, there are no comets seen. The heavens themselves blaze forth the death of princes. Those two lines were one of the reasons that I decided to start a search for comets. And anyway, I thought that this was something very special and something that I wanted very badly to do. And I started it on December 17th, 1965, and I'm still doing it 55 years later. Don't expect ever to find another comet again, but I love the search. And I have two quotes that I would like to offer for you tonight. And the first one is by Christian Huygens, who wrote these words in 1656, and this directly relates to Saturn, which is part of the Great Conjunction. He wrote in Latin, Annulo cingetur tenui plano, nusquam coherent, ad eclipticam inclinato. It's translated to read, it is surrounded by a thin, flat ring, nowhere touching, inclined to the ecliptic. He was so worried that somebody would steal his discovery from him that he wrote the Latin as an anagram with A's and B's and C's and stuff like that. And he left it for others to decipher it. So that's what it deciphered to. And in 1656, he discovered that Saturn had rings. And on December 21st, 2020, at the end of this hideous year that we've had, we get to see Jupiter and Saturn in the evening sky, almost touching, a tenth of a degree apart they will be tonight.
Yes.
And the final quote that I'm going to give before I give it back to you, Scotty, is from Hamlet, one of my favorite Shakespeare plays. And some of you may be familiar with Patrick Stewart's quote of these very lines. And I remember him saying, what Shakespeare wrote with irony, I say with conviction, and so do I. This most excellent canopy, the air, look you, this brave o'erhanging firmament, this majestical roof, fretted with golden fire. What a piece of work is a man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculties, in form and moving, how express and admirable, in action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god, the beauty of the world, the paragon of animals. And yet to me, what is this quintessence of dust? All these things talking about humanity. And yet, despite all the foolish mistakes we made, we still can go outside tonight and look at Venus, and look at Jupiter and Saturn almost touching, and look up at the night sky and absolutely wonder at the magic and the beauty of it all. And now back to you, Scotty.
Well, thank you very much, David. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. I don't know. I never get tired of hearing David talk about these things, so it's great. Well, let's introduce other people who are on with us today. We have, besides Steve Malia here, I'm not sure how it's arranged on the broadcast, but what I see is Jerry Hubble. Jerry is our Vice President of Engineering, developer of the PMC-8 system. He is a science imager, very, very interested in exoplanets and more recently exomoons. And so we will have one of the experts for exomoons on a later program. We have Rodrigo Zeleda of North Optics. He is the founder of North Optics. We have Marcelo Souza, who's a professor. He is a cosmologist, and he is from Brazil in Campos. I always get it pronounced wrong, Marcelo. Campos de Goitacazes, right? Is that right? It is. Okay. Wonderful. And we also have Kelsey Poor from Nova Space Galleries and Michael Carroll, space artist. So really great to have everybody here. I know that Marcello's time is limited. He could only be with us for a short time, so I'm going to let him go next. Um, so, Marcello, you have the stage.
Hi, thank you very much for the invitation. Here in Brazil, everybody's talking about the conjunction because we are in many of the people that live in Brazil are Christians. Then we are near the Christmas, and then they are talking about the Christmas stars. uh, Then
Yeah.
I would like for to show some pictures here because now in Brazil it's very hot. We are the summer began today here in Brazil. I will show some pictures here about our tradition that is like in the United States. This is our astronomy club here, Recluse. Here where we are near the Tropic of Capricorn. In this state, Rio de Janeiro state. We are almost 300 kilometers from the city of Rio de Janeiro, that is a world famous city. Here is our city. We have a big river crossing the city. Have three bridges to cross to go from one side to other side of the city here. And now it is very hot. We don't have this beach in our city, but it's what we have in Brazil. We have the beach near downtown here is located 50 kilometers from downtown. Here is the Copacabana in Rio de Janeiro. Then everybody, even with the problems with the COVID, we want that people don't go to the beach in this period, but the beaches are full. We are living a big problem with the virus here. And when possible, in the summer, and very possible, this was in January of 2020, we organized an event near the beach to look to the sky at night, and during the day, we had the opportunity to show the sun for many people here. But this year will not be possible to organize events like this. And we would like today to organize a public event to observe the conjunction, but it will not be possible. Then we are going to show online the image. And at night, we have the tradition to have lights. This is an image from this year. Here is in Rio de Janeiro, we have a big tree, Christmas tree, in a lake
It's beautiful.
located downtown. Here have many parts of, even with the problems, we have lights in the streets this year. We will not have big celebrations. We don't have the celebration of the solstice here in Brazil. We have any traditional celebration. For us, the most important celebration this period is the Christmas and the New Year. Then we are going to celebrate in the night of 24th. That is a traditional dinner that you have in your house. Then the conjunction in this period for us, for many people here, they are calling that it is the Christmas stars, and many people talk about the Bethlehem. Is correct my pronunciation? I don't know if it is
Bethlehem. Yeah.
Bethlehem stars.
Yes.
And here is like we are going to see here in our city today, near the horizon after the sunset. Then we are going, and the sky now is clear. I believe that today will be possible to see. We have 3 days with clouds here, and today it's clear. Then I think that will be possible. Then this is something that we discuss here a lot. It's about the Bethlehem star, if my pronunciation is correct. Why that you talk about this? This was a painting by Giotto. We have many hypotheses about the Bethlehem star. One of the hypotheses that maybe it could be a comet, but you don't have any register of a comet in the periods, and we have many doubts about the year that Jesus Christ born. Then here we can. This is the reason that the Christian astronomers look for events near the year that we consider now for the born of Jesus Christ. And one of the hypotheses is a conjunction, a triple conjunction between Saturn and Jupiter that happened 7 years before Christmas. This triple conjunctions happens in May 29, the first time that they were together. Then it was possible to see again in September 29, and the last it was in December 4th. Then in the year 7 before Christmas. This is the reason that now people here is talking about the Bethlehem star. This is a way that a Christian astronomer is looking for a natural phenomenon to be associated with what we can read in the Bible. But they are hypotheses, and here the press and the media is talking a lot about this, and many people is calling the conjunction of these nights as the return of the Bethlehem stars after so many years. This for us is a good thing because many people now want to look at the sky at these nights to see the conjunction. I have all the Brazilian channels, TV channels, all the newspapers, and you can see many pages in the internet, a lot of articles about the conjunction. Then it will be a special moment here for our group, the groups of astronomy in Brazil, because many people want to see. And here in our city, we are going to transmit live the observation. And we are receiving a lot of messages from many people asking how that they can look the conjunction. Then it is, I think that it is a special moment for us here. And it is a way to popularize astronomy here in Brazil. I think that the same is happening all over the world. But here in Brazil, we have, as for us, Christmas is a very special moment. Then I think that we also have another way to motivate people to look for the conjunction today.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much, Marcello. That's wonderful. Marcello is also the editor-in-chief for the newly relaunched Skies Up Global Astronomy magazine. And I'm going to put the link down for the magazine here.
Scott?
Yes?
It is good to remember that we have a special article about the conjunction.
That's right.
The magazine.
Yes, we do. And it tells you how to observe it and how to photograph it. So, if you are interested in knowing more about the conjunction, there's a full article about that. With observing techniques and photography techniques as well. So, but there's many other articles in there from astronomers from all over the world. It truly is a global astronomy magazine. So, and it's absolutely free. So you can go and download it at the link I just put in. But I think you'll find it a good read. Marcello, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have you on our program. Up next will be Rodrigo Zeleda. Rodrigo is from La Serena, Chile, and he'll be joining us later tonight, doing some live imaging. I think is it clear in Chile tonight, Rodrigo?
Hi, Scott. Yes,
tonight is clear sky in La Serena.
Oh, that's great. That's
Yes, and last night and this weekend, clear sky in the lake. I take picture for the conjunction yesterday, and today I put my telescope to the west.
Mm-hmm. I see.
Yes.
Uh-huh. And so do you, have you been taking images recently of the conjunction?
Yes, I have now I share with you my screen
Okay.
to I show you my setup of telescope and images of yesterday of the conjunction.
Oh, wow.
You see my
I
screen?
recognize that telescope.
Yes, it's a nice telescope.
Thank you.
Yes, I put two telescopes, one for photography and two for observing. And this great image for the conjunction last night. Okay, do you see my picture now?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Very nice.
Yes. My daughter observing with my wife the conjunction is very amazing for there. And this is my picture. Is
Oh, very nice.
it's very difficult for the low on the sky with the turbulence atmospherics. This is another picture.
Wow. Oh, I think I see the red spot at the
Yes,
top there. Is that right?
yes, yes.
Yes.
And the Saturn rings, the and then moon, Jupiter's.
Right.
Yes, this is the best image I checked yesterday.
Oh,
It's
well,
a few minutes,
congratulations.
but down to the horizon, as atmosphere is more turbulence and more difficult to see the images.
Right. Beautiful. Beautiful.
And tonight, this afternoon, I put my telescope again to the conjunction, and if I share with you my image in lifetime.
Yeah. Wonderful. That's great.
Yes,
So we get to see so tonight, we're going to have many astrophotographers on. So we'll try to give everybody a little time as we go through all of them. And then as we have more time, we'll settle in on each astrophotographer. Maybe they can talk about technique or how they're getting these images. So, but very cool. I'm excited. So, Rodrigo,
that's good.
thank you. Thank you very
That's
much.
good.
Yep. Okay. All right. So, and then up next here is Kelsey Poor from Novaspace.com and Michael Carroll, who is the featured artist this month. Is that right?
He's not featured this month, but he's featured all the time, especially for Christmas, because he does so many amazing Christmas cards and so much spiritual artwork that I like to feature it during Christmas time, especially.
Sure. So tell us a little bit about the gallery and the history of it, and Space Fest as well.
Yeah. Oh, so much to talk about, right? First of all, happy Great Conjunction Day to everybody here. So my father was a space artist who started doing an art gallery. We're the only art gallery that does space art solely. We've also started selling other little tiny gifts, and we have a huge price range now. So it's not just art. There's astronaut autographs as well. It's located here in Tucson, Arizona, and we decided to do a Space Fest annually Of course, we couldn't have it this year, but that features the astronauts signing. So if you're an astronaut autograph collector, that's the place to be. It's very personable. It's not like these other places where you go and you can't really talk to the celebrities. The astronauts are our celebrities. The space artists are our celebrities. So we have a huge space art show, and we have guest speakers, everything from astronomy to space travel, past, present, future. And I started last year, I had somebody come talk about time travel, actually.
Oh, wow.
I started touching on a little bit of theoretical physics. Michael Carroll is so important, you guys. That's why I wanted him on this big show tonight. So I have an introduction I wrote about him on my phone, and I'm going to read it for you. And then Mikey, you can take it away. Michael Carroll was one of the founding fathers of the International Astronomical Artists Association in the early 80s. So he's known my father since the 80s. When people have known my parents before I was born, I always say I've known this person before I was born. That's just how I put it. So I've known Mikey since before I was born. In addition to painting, he is also an author of both fiction and nonfiction books. All of his creative work has scientific detail. So that's something that my dad really loved about him. And that's why he's featured prominently in our gallery. He's got a lot of work up. We sell his books, his art. He really gets the scientific facts in his paintings and his books. His art has been featured in National Geographic, Sky and Telescope, and much more. And we probably don't even have enough time to scratch the surface on everything he does today. But I am so grateful that he took the time out to chat with you guys. So, yeah. Mikey?
Great. Okay, Michael.
All right. Well, it's great to be here. Thanks so much. Yeah, Kelsey and I definitely go way back.
Right. So I used to follow Kim Poor for many years, including going back into the 80s, because that's when I really started getting involved in the telescope industry. And, it was just entering this whole amazing world, of astronomers, scientists, astronauts, space explorers, and incredible images done with telescopes and from spacecraft and stuff. But no one gets the essence of space exploration like space artists do. They put you in a spot often that would be impossible to be in, to imagine what seeing the rings of Saturn from one of its moons, for example, places that we have not been to yet. So how would you describe your work, Michael?
Well, I think that's certainly the goal of astronomical art, is to put people in a spot in one of these amazing places that we're discovering these days. Mm-hmm. Much of the visual imagery that we have is, taken at ranges of hundreds of thousands or even millions of kilometers. And so, but we get a lot of science even with non-visual instrumentation, and the space artists can take all that data and put it into something visual that people can understand. So that's the challenge, and that's the fun of it. We are surrounded by a new frontier out there, and ideally space art inspires people to look up and out, and just imagine what it would be like out there, and also to learn a little bit about it.
Right. Also, too, early on, all we had was space art that could help us imagine what space exploration would really be like. So, if you look at some of the science fiction books and the covers and stuff like that from the 1940s, 1950s, you know, of what the moon's terrain might be looking like if you're standing inside of a crater, or, you know, you're around another planet, or, you know, some other exotic location in space, you know. It did help interpret what we might see, what we might discover. Some space art back from those days was remarkably accurate, and of course we didn't have enough information to maybe portray it. What has inspired you about as a space artist, and what are your favorite pieces of space art that you've made?
Ooh, great questions. Before I get to that, though,
Okay.
I want to comment on your last comment, which was great. I have I think it's an analog from 1948, and the cover on it is a painting of Jupiter seen from Europa. It's got palm trees on it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I know. It's great. I love it because one element that space art embodies is it takes a moment in history and freezes it. You can look at an astronomical painting and understand what the science at the time was telling us. Chesley Bonestell, late 1950s, did paintings of Mars. And in those paintings, he showed in the distance subtle hints of vegetation. The canals were these long, straight channels of water. He wasn't committing to anything specific except that they were real features. And so things like this really tell us what was going on scientifically at the time. It's fun to look at the older space art, see what we got wrong and what we got right. And right now, you know, in the last few years, it's been a very exciting time because the things have accelerated and the space artist has time to make a guess and then a few years later find out the reality because of the orbital telescopes or the spacecraft we're sending out. And so that's really a great feature of what's going on in this exciting time that we live in. In terms of inspiration, Bonestell certainly was a biggie for me and for many. And in fact, he inspired a whole generation of scientists and engineers. Yes. Lucien Rudeau was a painter at the beginning of the 1900s. He was also the head of the Meudon Observatory in Paris, France. He was a very good observer, but an accomplished painter. And he painted what he saw. He didn't guess. He extrapolated scientifically, and his paintings hold up very well today. So, and then I'm inspired by a lot of my colleagues today. Kim Poor certainly was an inspiration and continues to be. So it's nice to be surrounded by so many talented people out there.
Right. Wow, that's great. That's great. I see that Kelsey has shared a link to your artwork, which is great. What are your favorite pieces of art? Maybe we could that you've created, or the most important pieces to you?
Oh, okay. Well, probably early in my career, one that was used the most was a painting I did of the Phobos, Soviet Phobos spacecraft. There weren't very many paintings of it. And I got the opportunity to go to the Soviet Union in 1987 for the 30th anniversary of Sputnik.
Yeah.
Kim was the head of our delegation, in fact, along with John Lomberg and the Planetary Society, who has always had a great relationship with the space art community. And so we got to see one of the Phobos spacecraft there that was ready to be packaged up and sent off to Mars.
Wow.
So some of those, my paintings ended up in some magazines that I had not been in before, and so I was thrilled about that. A lot of that is timing, and luck. So
you guys were on a big adventure, and I'm a believer that you make a lot of your own luck, and so and if you've got the tools and the energy and the mindset to deal with it, you can make something out of that. And by you, I mean, making these pieces of art and sharing it with the world, I can only imagine that you've really propelled the inspiration of so many generations of people. So I think that that's wonderful. I'm going to dive into your work and check it out for myself. And I hope that by the time we get to the next Space Fest in July, Kelsey has invited Explore Scientific to be there. And so we would, if I do go there, we will broadcast from there as well. And so we would really be able to check out the kaleidoscope of space art that's there, and try to learn more about what it is to be a space artist, because being a space artist, I think, is a type of technical artist, but they hold the responsibility of not only inspiring people, but to accurately propel the state of the art as far as technology, and to help us get to the next level. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I really appreciate you and Kelsey for taking time out today to be on our program.
Well, thanks for having us. It's fun to see what's going on there.
Right. Yeah. So anyways, Kelsey has shared that link. You want to check it out. I think that if you get the chance, you should visit the gallery during Space Fest and visit some astronauts. And I'm sure, Michael, you'll be there as well.
Yes, you bet. If they're open, I'll be there.
Awesome. That's great. Okay, so we have one person left here. Jerry Hubble, would you like to add anything, or?
Yeah, actually, while you guys have been talking, I got on the observatory, MMSRO. We still have partly cloudy skies. It's going to cloud up a little later, but I'm actually on Jupiter right now in the daylight.
In the daylight.
I'm
trying. Let's see some live images.
Let me share. This is
okay.
I'm trying to see Saturn there, but I can't quite see it. Let me do this here, see how it works for you.
Yeah, a lot of people don't think you can see planets and stars in broad daylight, but you can.
Oh yeah,
they're still there. They are still there. Oh, there it is.
You see Jupiter there?
I see Jupiter.
I'm trying to adjust the exposure.
Maybe I see a faint hit of Saturn too.
Really? Let me do one thing here. Let me try to
maybe it's noisy
up just a little bit.
Let's check.
Well, there, how's that? Where do you see Saturn at?
If it's up and to the left, like at the 11 o'clock position, would that be right?
Right here?
No, closer.
Oh, down here?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just, it's really
maybe not.
Tough. This is a tough,
yeah.
Maybe. Let me brighten it up just a little bit more. Maybe we can see it. If I go too much, then it overexposes the whole sky and you can't see nothing. You can see it starts to wash out now.
Yeah. You need the contrast.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me. But I thought I'd give it a try. Plus, there's clouds, so I don't know how many clouds are.
That's a better image.
In there. Yeah.
Well, that's half of the conjunction right there.
That's about what I can do right now.
All right.
Maybe I don't know if I can adjust the contrast any further or not. Probably so. Maybe I should go to monochrome.
Clear Light 58 is saying this is really cool. The fact that you can see it through clouds is very cool.
And in the daylight too, so. So I'm going to be getting on your scope later on, and
Yeah.
we'll be able to see it much better than
Right.
this. But I thought I'd give it a try just to see. You can see the scope there also pointing up at the sky.
Right.
Um,
It's
but
amazing. It is.
so, all right.
Thanks, Jerry. That's
Yep.
awesome. All right. So I think we're kind of towards the end of our program. I was expecting Cesar Brolo to show up, but Cesar and Rodrigo also are running businesses, and when customers are there, they take front center. So, is there any? Would anybody like to add anything before we close out this program? Any other comments?
I'd like to thank the opportunity and the invitation again to participate. It ever is a great pleasure to be here with all of you. Thank you very much, Scott.
Thank you, Marcello. That's awesome. Thank you. Okay. Well, we will say, we'll see you later because we are going to be back on at about 4:45 p.m. Central Time, okay, which is 22:45 Universal Coordinated Time. So, but at 4:45 we'll have on, of course, David Levy. David Eicher from Astronomy Magazine will be joining us, and then we have a bunch of astrophotographers coming on that will be showing the world the conjunction through their telescopes, including Rodrigo Zeleda. So it'll be a lot of fun getting that. We do have a tight window, though, because these planets are setting right after the sun, so they have roughly, I don't know, maybe about an hour or so of imaging time. There are, of course, different time zones that we're working in, so we'll try to coordinate that as we go along. Steve Malia will be helping out a lot because he has a big crew coming in from the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada. And I think we have almost like 20 guests or something like that that will be coming on. There may be more than that towards the end of the program. So, and then we'll just run the program until people run out of things to say. But there's always more to talk about when it comes to astronomy. So thank you very much. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing our program and liking us and subscribing to us and all the rest of it. This is an outreach activity, and we're glad you took part in it. And for now, we'll close down and see you in about 2 more hours, so roughly. Take care.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rich Ozer. I'm a volunteer with the Chabot Space and Science Center in Oakland, California. We're going to be watching the conjunction tonight through the 36-inch Research Reflecting Telescope, otherwise known as NELLY. And we'll be starting our program at 5 o'clock and going for about 30 minutes. That is roughly sunset till the telescope hits its limit of 15 degrees above the horizon. So I hope you can join us tonight. It's very easy. We have both a Facebook Live link and a YouTube link, and they'll both be simulcast. So feel free to tune in to either one of those two, whichever is more convenient. Let me put up a slide that's got the link on it. And here we go. And for Facebook users, just go to facebook.com/ChabotSpace/live and wait for the program to begin. It'll show up on the live page at roughly quarter till 5. For YouTube users, you want to go to youtube.com and then do a search for Chabot Space and Science Center, and the live program should show up as a thumbnail there. So anyhow, I hope you join us tonight. I hope you've had a good time looking at the conjunction from all over the world. You should also know that we have a regular program at these same links every Saturday night at 9 o'clock where we do live viewing from this telescope. And I hope you can join us sometime. Anyhow, that's it for me. Have a good evening.